This week's episode is in partnership with Intact Insurance, here for you and for everything you care about. We're back. I am Jann Arden. This is the Jann Arden podcast. Because this received so many comments and so many people wanted to keep this conversation going, Caitlin Green is here with me, as she always is.
Hello.
But we spent a podcast not so long ago talking about star signs, astrological signs, and we just feel like it's a conversation that needs to keep going because people are perplexed, they're confused as to what, and Caitlin seems to be not an expert, we won't go that far, but she has such a vast knowledge now of star signs because she's interested in it.
Yeah.
So when you're interested in things, you learn about them. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Adam, our engineer, was just saying, do me. And I will explain that we were talking about our signs before we just went to air.
Yeah.
And I'm Aries.
Yes.
Caitlin Sagittarius. Adam is Aries as well. Mm-hmm. And Caitlin was just listing off all the things. So
the different qualities.
The thing that was interesting to me is you said to him, your sun is what? So go through that again.
So everyone's probably most familiar with your sun sign, right? That's the one that
the sun in the sky.
Yeah.
Not your sibling sun or your
S-U-N.
Yes.
So it's where the sun was in relation to you where you were born, right?
Okay.
When you were the time you were born.
And that tells us what?
That really determines it's your role in life. It's your life's
This is an entertainment show, by the way.
This is an entertainment show. This is not scientific. Please, for the love. So the sun determines it's your ego, your identity, your role in life, your life's purpose. It's the core of who you are.
Okay.
Really? So that's your core. But you also have to forget, and I have to remember it, and I didn't even realize these things existed until the last year of my life.
Okay.
You have an ascendant sign, and you also have a moon sign. Your moon sign...
Get your pen and paper.
Get your pen and paper, everybody. Your moon sign rules your emotions. It's your emotions. It's your moods. It's who you are at your core when you're left alone with your thoughts. It's who you are, who you feel like when you're home alone, just hanging out by yourself.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Like who we are on our own without anyone else influencing us or telling us what we can and cannot do, how we make our way through our day. And you know what? We do not spend enough time alone. Mm-hmm. Anyways, keep going.
Well, so that's an important one that I think most people don't even know. And I'm one of those people. So it's most likely, if you ever read your horoscope and you thought, that's not me at all, it's probably because you're missing the moon component. It is most likely what you think of yourself as. Your self-identification is likely right there. Okay. And then your ascendant sign is described mostly as it's who you present yourself as to the world. It's your outward facing self. It's your, I don't want to say mask because that means you're hiding something.
Do you think you present to the world who Caitlin is at home? I want to ask you that question.
No. I think for me, they're so different.
Okay, why is there any connection between Caitlin at home with herself, making a sandwich, reading a book? Like, what do you bring any of her with you to show the world?
For sure, a bit. But I think that what happens is I always think that, we've I work for Bell Media. Mm-hmm. We do the Bell Let's Talk Day. It's a big initiative here, and from doing that on the morning show I work on, from talking about that day, I had revealed that I struggle with anxiety. I had so many people write in and say, I don't believe that. I can't believe that. You seem like the least anxious person in the world. You blah, blah, blah.
That's not how it works.
And it's not, but that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I think whatever I'm projecting forward facing is clearly giving off an air of, like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going about the world confident and taking everything on, but you're not seeing the inside parts.
Do you let your friends know you?
Yeah.
Do they know you? Do they know a little bit of Caitlin at home?
Friends now, at this stage of my life, absolutely.
How about your husband? Does he know you?
Oh, warts and all. Like the back of his hand.
Yeah. Because if, my dad used to always say to have someone know you is so important. And I think he was, certainly instructing me on friendships and how important friendships were. But he also said, you're foolish to think that you have a lot of friends. And he said, that's folly. Like, hi, 1930 called, they want their language back. But and I used to, look at him at 15, 16 years old, kind of just with my face scrunched up into a knot. But now reflecting on those conversations, those very brief, scarce conversations I had with my dad, that the ones about friendship really resonate to me now, because it's true to have someone know you. So I'm glad to hear that you have a partner that you let yourself be seen.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why we got together, stayed together, and clicked so quickly, was because of that instant feeling, not instant, but very early on feeling of familiarity, comfortable being myself, and feeling like we were so similar. We were very similar, and it just sort of clicked. But it's so important, and I really feel like I spent so many of my younger years pretending to be something I wasn't, that it's just...
Well, we all do that.
Yeah, it feels good to get rid of it.
It does. It's the expectations. Being young is very hard.
Oh,
it is a difficult endeavor to become a person.
Mm-hmm.
I always, and I say this and I'll say it again, you don't even start becoming a person until you're 40. So you're not quite even there yet. But when you finally stop the charades of wanting to put somebody out there that doesn't really exist. So I think that the Caitlin at home and the Caitlin at work, as you get older, they start walking towards each other. Mm-hmm. And that is a magnificent time in your life, mm-hmm. is entering into that piece where you leave fewer and fewer of those traits apart from each other.
And I think that was one of the things, that realization that I was already having in my real life without astrology playing any role whatsoever. But when that part of astrology...
It was a catalyst.
Yeah, but when it clicked in, and I thought, wow, that's a very different way of looking at yourself. You think, oh, you're going to sneeze. Bless you. It was a very held back sneeze.
No, I just kept it in because I didn't want to blow the windscreen off.
You didn't want people wiping their ear off? So I think that what happened was when I realized that it was like the person at home at your core, the person you present to the world, and then your life's purpose, those things combined, when you look at those three, signs in astrology.
I cut you off, so just
but it felt more meaningful.
Explain that last one a little bit more, because we were going into that, and it's how...
Oh, your ascending sign.
Yes.
So your ascending sign, again, it's the person you present to the world. It's likely how you come off to people when you first meet. It's likely how people would quit. It's likely
so it would be Beyonce's Sasha Fierce.
Yes, exactly.
So the person that she creates to present to people.
Yeah.
In order to cope.
If somebody just met you for the first time,
yes.
and you said, hey, describe Jann in 5 words, or give us a couple sentences on her, they'd likely describe that sign. They probably wouldn't describe the characteristics that are associated with your sun sign, the one that everyone knows. The most familiar sign is still probably not how everyone would describe you. So it's been interesting for me, and a lot of it's true. Like the people you click with and why you click with them, those types of things has made sense to me. So I liked it. When I heard that you guys are both Aries, you saw me get kind of excited. I was like, oh, really?
Well, I mean, I'm one of those people that, I'm looking at a newspaper and the print is far too small, and I'm looking at the horoscopes of the day that a lot of publications still have daily as their horoscopes, and people still seem to enjoy reading them. But 9 out of 10 times I'm reading the one on top that I'm mm-hmm. supposed to be reading, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh no, I'm reading freaking Taurus. So, but I think there is a lot to it. I know that in the Chinese culture, all the birthdays and the year that you're born mm-hmm. are so important. Mm-hmm. Just had Chinese New Year a few months back, and not even a few months.
Yeah, and Lunar New Year is a big thing, huge thing.
Yeah, it's so huge. I didn't realize that. Like I didn't realize that if you were born under a certain year, mm-hmm. that whole year was going to be affected. I was listening to I forget which podcast it was, but it was an astrologer talking to a scientist, which I adored, and they were talking about the moon just controlling, the tides. Controlling that old thing, and that when you think about what percentage of our body is made up of water, you talk about how people feel during celestial things, an eclipse or a full moon, and there's always been a little something of that kind of has made sense to me. And I don't know. Yeah, I get that.
I don't think it's a werewolf transformation or anything that's quite so silly and cliche. But we're just talking about the fact that when you're open to these types of things and these types of realizations, you might start to see the meaning in your own life.
Everything affects everything.
Yeah.
It can't not. I often shake my head. There's so many, people at NASA and government bodies that are very concerned about asteroids or meteors hitting the Earth and the catastrophic fallout of that. I always think, I hope they're worrying about the moon too. I hope somebody is taking some time to, when crap is coming towards the moon, that someone's going to shoot whatever that is out of the sky as well. Because I'm thinking, we are doomed without the moon.
We need it.
We do need it.
Yeah.
But I do like all that stuff. Honest to God.
I'm going to get you this book. I'm going to get you the book that I have on it. It is by a really great author and astrologer, a fabulous writer, a very smart person. Her name is Chani Nicholas. She's actually Canadian.
Chani,
Chani.
Okay.
She's Canadian. She moved to LA.
Okay.
She grew up out west.
As you do.
As you do. She grew up out west. I think she grew up in rural British Columbia.
Wow.
And then she moved. She had a really tough childhood. Then she moved to Toronto, spent a lot of time in Toronto, and then she moved to LA. And she talks about her journey with this and how it worked out for her. And it is really, it's practical when you hear her talk about it.
But anything that brings you closer to thinking about yourself in terms of how you fit into the big picture, like anything that gets you there, whether it is a piece of literature, whether it is astrology, or whether it is tarot cards. I mean, a lot of people are into readings like that. I've had a couple of tarot card readings that really shook me to my core.
Yeah, well,
because of how I've had a couple bad ones, but I've had good ones that are just like, that is so true.
And you feel seen, and it matters to you. And I also think it's part of that path for some people, not for everyone. Hey, this may not connect with you and you are not alone. But if it is part of your path to self-acceptance, why not?
Whatever helps you understand yourself a little bit more, hey, I'm all for it. Welcome back. This is the Jann Arden podcast. I'm here with Caitlin Green. Caitlin.
Yeah. Hello.
Jobs.
Oh, yes.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing?
Travel. Something to do with travel.
Okay, something to do with travel. Mm-hmm. So where's like the most exotic place you've traveled?
I, last year, went to Machu Picchu.
Do tell everything, because I know that they have been inundated with tourism and have had to they had no idea. And that the tourists would come out the way they have. Machu Picchu is in Peru.
It's in Peru.
Built on the top of a damn mountain.
It is.
Hard to get to.
Very difficult to get to.
Okay.
It is like being on another planet. It is the most otherworldly experience I've ever had. I cannot believe the society that existed there as long ago as it did. What those people accomplished, their incredible vast knowledge of the solar system, their methods for communicating.
And how they got everything up there.
I still to this day, I want to go back. Like a full day there wasn't enough. It was just
Was there a lot of people when you were there that day?
There were a lot of people there, yeah. There are a lot of people there.
Imagine this was found in the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
In the 30s. Mm-hmm. I believe it was a couple, I don't even know what they were doing, if they were looking for artifacts, but can you imagine stumbling upon Machu Picchu?
No, I can't. I just, and because the getting there is so difficult.
Explain that. Walk us through that.
So you fly into Lima, then you fly to Cusco. Cusco is a town that is...
So one of those holidays where the planes continually get smaller.
Yeah, exactly. The planes continually get smaller, and you... If you're me, continually get sicker because the altitude sickness is real.
Okay.
So you land, I forget how many thousands of meters above sea level Cusco is, but it's high. And so you land in Cusco. It's actually higher than Machu Picchu. So you land even higher than you're going to go. And then you take a train down to Machu Picchu from Cusco. And so we took a train down.
Couple hours?
Couple hours, yeah, 4 hours. Beautiful train ride right through the Sacred Valley in Peru. And we landed there. We stayed at a wonderful, absolutely one of the most stunning, beautiful hotels I've ever stayed at in my life. It's right alongside
called the
Inca Terra. It is a chain of hotels that I believe might only exist in Peru. Okay. They do setups in the Amazon rainforest. They have a certain amount of ecotourism to them. They have a conservation bent. They don't want to use too much water. They try to give back to the land.
Love that.
They put money towards rescuing animals and creating habitat for animals.
It's the only way forward.
It is. They do amazing tours. We had a tour with them through Machu Picchu. and it was really special. And it's quite a day. It'll take a few days of your life to get there.
Yep.
But when you do, it is just...
So the train drops you off. Now you're at the bottom of the mountain, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly. So the train drops you off right in the village. You drive into the side of the village in this little train, and you get off and you hop over to your hotel. You spend the night there. Then you wake up first thing in the morning, and you get on a bus, and everyone gets on these buses. And this bus is on a zigzag up the mountain, and it is like you are centimeters from falling off of the side of this mountain at any time. At every turn, the bus feels
I don't think I could personally sit on the window on the outside.
No.
And look out.
You can't. You look straight ahead and you hang on for dear life. But you see these buses do this every day, and the drivers do this every day, and they are...
But anything can happen. I hate to be the harbinger of bad news, but I guess the mountain could break off, and...
Yeah.
That's a chance you take.
You are well outside of your comfort zone, every person on that bus.
So could a person that was not in peak physical shape get up to Machu Picchu?
Absolutely. So there are many, many people who do this as a...
and there's some people that walk too, right?
Exactly. They do this as a multi-day hike. They stop and they stay overnight along the way. And those people laugh at the bus people like me because, we're missing out.
We laugh at the bus people.
I'm a bus person, so that's what I did.
I would be the bus person.
And you get dropped off right at the entrance to the park. And when you get there, obviously, there are no bathrooms in Machu Picchu. So you get there, you have to book well in advance. You can't just show up. You book months in advance. They have to approve how many people can come every day because there's so many people that do want to visit.
Yeah.
And they have to preserve the sites.
Yes, of course.
So we had our tour guide.
And there's paths that I suppose you adhere to.
Yeah,
to walk around.
We did all the paths. You can just do.
It must look like a movie set.
Oh my! No, it is. You think that you're on another planet because you are in what's called a cloud rainforest. So you are above the clouds. You are looking down at the clouds, and you are in an ancient city. I mean, it can't be overstated. It's really, really something.
How do you think something like that, like just traveling and seeing something so otherworldly, obviously, just your excitement is palpable. So it must and continues to affect you.
It changes your brain. There's no other way to put it. You can't feel you don't feel the same way about the world, and you just know what's out there. And then I want to see all the wonders because this is one of the wonders of the world. So now I'm like, I want.
So you need a traveling job. You need to
so badly
a job. Well, I mean, you could have so many careers in your life. Julia Childs didn't start in her culinary life until she was 50. You have to think about that in terms of how modern women now make their way through the world. You can have a new career at every decade. And I really can.
And I might love that. I mean, I love what I'm doing right now so much. So it's hard to imagine doing anything else. But the travel one, when you were like, what else would you do? Right away. That is my instant yes. I would love to do anything to do with travel.
I have always, always, always wanted to go, and I'm going to go on the Orient Express.
Yes.
I've listened to like podcasts about it. I've read so much about it. Anything of the Perot, the Inspector Perot.
Yeah.
How do you say his name?
I think you got it.
Poirot.
Inspector Poirot.
Yeah. Well, just, all those murder mysteries that take place on the Orient Express all the time, or if it's Agatha Christie. But much like you said about going to Machu Picchu and seeing things that were built. What is it? Was it 3,000 years ago? What are the estimates? No, but I
think it might be more than that. But it's the most...
and you'd go back.
Oh, I would go back in a second. And what I would also do is, because when I was in Peru, we were there for 2 weeks. We did Lima, we did Machu Picchu, and we did a beach town called Mancora. Beach town was beautiful. One of the most perfect weather every single day, stunning, whatever. Don't need the beach town. Sorry. I'm more for the Amazon. Yeah. I wish that I had gone on an Amazon riverboat cruise. I wish that I had seen some of the wildlife that
you have to go back.
I know. And that wildlife is so at stake. And so much of the world's oxygen and cures and life, teeming with life, is just there. And I would like to see a lot more of that. And I think that as I've gotten older, the tours of, Antarctica, I'm way more interested in that than I am in sitting on a beach.
Vow to me right now, today,
Yep.
that you will travel more and you will travel as much as you can.
Done.
Okay.
As much as I can afford.
Okay. We'll be back.
Welcome back. This is the Jann Arden podcast. I am here with one of the most fabulous women that you'll ever want to meet, that you'll ever want to be in the presence of. Meredith Shaw, thank you so much for joining
Arden,
me.
Stop it with that. Stop it with those compliments.
We have the Mutual Admiration Society. Right out of the gate, I just want to tell you that you are such a force of positivity. And I want to tell you why. The way you approach body image, confidence, sensuality, sexuality, how personal you are about your life, how open you are, sharing your relationship adventures.
Yeah.
Just the pictures that the way you curate your social media really has fascinated me this past year and a half that I've been following you.
I still remember when you first followed me.
Oh my gosh.
I had a moment. I had a full on
Wow.
It's Jann Arden. It's Jann Arden. So thank you for that.
Tell me about Meredith Shaw growing up, the little girl that has become this absolute force to be reckoned with. You're in media. I see you in the CTV Bell building all the time. You do myriad things. You interview. You co-host. You host. You do radio. You do it all. So just tell me how and how did this get going?
Well, it all started with music for me. Honestly, it started with music and with songwriting. So it's just very funny to be talking to you in this way. It's very funny to be talking to you this way. I'm being very real about it because that's really where this began, because that's where I first felt like I could have a voice. I loved music. I mean, not to sound too, I don't know what, but I love you. I loved your music. I loved your music. I loved Sarah McLachlan. It spoke to me in a way I hadn't been spoken to before. And I was taking music lessons, and, I had a wonderful family and parents who recognized very early on that I wasn't going to become a lawyer. I was probably going to be a creative something. And they fostered that in me. And I still remember the day I was up in the summertime, and I remember, practicing other people's stuff, usually classical stuff. And then I remember thinking maybe I could try to write a song like Jann. Maybe I could try to take these thoughts. No, I'm serious. I'm not saying this. This is for real. And then sort of my art brain began, and floodgates opened.
How old were you, Meredith?
I was 14 when I wrote my first song. Yeah. I was 14. And it was bleak, Jann. It was a bleak song.
You're my kind of girl.
Oh yeah, it was just woo. I listen back to it now and I'm thinking, wow. I mean, you had a cute life there, Shaw. What were you writing about? But you try to get deep, and then as you go, you start actually writing songs that mean something to you and maybe mean something to other people. And I had a nice little. It sounds ridiculous with you on the phone, but I had a nice little career in Canada in terms of my music, and got signed and made a record with Joel Plaskett out in his studio.
Oh, wow.
And went down to Willie Nelson's studio in Austin and made a record with Gordie Johnson. And then
I love Gordie.
Yeah. And I toured with Big Sugar. I did across Canada with them twice. So I had a really lovely musical history. That meant a lot to me. And then I remember I was in Winnipeg, and no offense to Winnipeg, but I remember I was in Winnipeg on a tour, and I was just sitting there and I was like, I don't know if I can do this again. I didn't know how my life was going to work in terms of writing.
Do what again?
Make an album. And I didn't, it wasn't like I wasn't becoming Jann Arden fast enough. You know what I mean? That was my problem. It wasn't hitting. I had some nice pickup at CBC, and I had some nice, but it wasn't what I kind of was driving towards, if that made any sense. And I was really struggling with it because I had a lot of friends in that musical community, East Coast, and played the Carlton when I was out there, and Mike, and I had a nice groove, but it wasn't feeling like my groove. And I felt.
What about the monetary aspect of it? Was it frustrating? Were you making some money?
No.
Okay.
No, so I was spending money.
Part of things. Yeah, exactly.
And it was just tough at a certain point in life. It was just tough to kind of think, okay, legitimately, how am I doing this? And then I kind of sat there after my sound check in Winnipeg, and I was like, I've also kind of always wanted to be Marilyn Dennis. Maybe I could host a radio show. And that night, sitting in that club, I Googled how to host a radio show. And
I love this. so much.
And Milkman Unlimited came up. Any radio wannabes out there? It's the weirdest website name, but that's where they list all the jobs in radio across the country. And I just looked it up, and I did a silly little voice memo on my iPhone, and I sent it to 62 stations, I remember, and everywhere and anywhere. And I was dating.
Are you guys listening to this out there? Are you listening to what this woman is telling you? Pick something and go after it.
That's it. It
and
really
you don't
is.
have to be any one thing.
No, I think, Jann, you're so right. And I think, your career has exemplified this so well. Like, people want you to be one thing. It's very confusing when you're not. And I feel like early on, I got a lot of that. They're like, well, what, because while I was singing, I also had a card company, and I was drawing, and I was going to the One of a Kind show. Like, I was trying to make a buck and be creative.
Creative people create.
Yes.
That's what they do.
Yes.
You're not nailed down to one thing. It's not 1945 where you have to, bring milk to somebody's door every morning.
Mm-hmm.
The way women, especially the way we approach our careers and our lives, and people are showing us all the time. You look at someone even like Julia Childs in the 50s, and Caitlin Green, my cohort on this show. I bring Julia up because she started her culinary career at 50.
Yes.
So, we don't really understand and fully appreciate how vast of the opportunities are out there for us. We just have to go after them. I love the fact that you sent a voice message to 62 people.
Yes. And it really was a voice message. And my first radio gig, which I did sort of strike luck, and I had it here in Toronto, not at the station I'm at currently, but I remember the program director saying, I don't know what the hell this is. It's like, this is not a radio demo of any sort. But I just had a hunch, and I just kind of want to hear you on the mic. And I really feel, Jann, like when you put yourself out there like that in moments, if you just kind of go for it, I have felt like this is the truth. The universe kind of rises up to meet you. And that was a moment in time that, he shouldn't basically have given me a job. He shouldn't have necessarily had a hunch, because what I sent him was not what he heard across the board. But that little bit of difference kind of set me apart. And if I'd never just sort of done it, I don't know what my life would look like right now. And that is so interesting to me and so magical. And I feel like when I meet people and I talk to them, they're like, oh, I want to host a radio show. I'm like, I Googled how to do it, girl, 6 years ago. Like 6 years ago. Like, your life can change, You just got to have the confidence and sort of the guts to give it a shot. And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, no one responds to me, and I cry, and I continue trying to make bleak music for no one that's listening. Like, I don't know.
But it's so important to keep in mind that failure, you have to be willing to not get it right. Don't you agree?
100%. I went to Queen's and I studied drama, and one of my teachers there said, if you go into the room not expecting to make a fool out of yourself, you will.
Yeah.
And it kind of twists your brain around a little bit. But if you go in there not prepared to kind of not get it, or not prepared to just be self-deprecating, you're going to bring that result on yourself. So totally, I agree.
It is so worth the risk of trying new things, putting yourself out there, making the effort. Like I always say to people, I try and make the effort to actually do something that I'll fail at.
Yeah.
Because it's all semantics. But when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you're doing now. I want to talk to you about your beautiful boyfriend who I've met, many times.
Beautiful is the right word, Jann Arden. Beautiful. It's just, there's no one more beautiful.
Okay, well, don't rub it in, Meredith, for God's sakes. So stay with us. We're going to come back with Meredith Shaw, the fabulous, the one and only, and we're going to talk to her about, maybe her sex life. I don't know. We might get to that. Don't go away. This is Jann Arden Podcast. You're listening to it right now, this second, and I'm back with Meredith Shaw. Meredith has done a bajillion things. I love hearing about you risking yourself, risking any kind of failure, any kind of defeat, and putting yourself out there and chasing after what you want. What do you think is in you that has allowed you to do that? Because there's so many people that say, oh, I'm just too scared to try new things. I can't deal with rejection. how do you reconcile that in your own heart and mind?
I got to give a shout out to my parents at this moment.
Yay.
I think I was raised with an idea of a net. You know what I mean? I was given the opportunity at a young age to go for things, and I think I was able. I'm very, very, very grateful for that. Especially as I become more as an adult and children are brought into my life, I really see how special that was. And I certainly, in some of the work that I do, seek out girls that might not have that, because I really think for me that was a big differentiator. And then I really just think it's failing is just not that bad.
No,
it's just not that bad. And if you just get one under your belt, like you rip the Band-Aid off, right? And then you just go for it.
Failing, you get used to it.
Yeah, and it's just not a big deal. And the biggest thing too is like it's also not a big deal to own it, like to sort of claim it. And I was so terrified to fail at music. I was so terrified, mainly because I loved it so much.
But you didn't fail at music, Meredith.
Okay,
Like
thanks, Jann. Thank you, Jann Arden.
You didn't fail at all. I think the practical side of you really, you took hold of your life and you thought, I don't want to be broke. I love the fact that you were responsible, practical, reasonable. Trust me, I've had friends that I met 30 years ago in music that are still staggering along.
Yeah.
And they live impoverished, from one grant to the next.
Yeah.
And I would never have wanted to live like that. I would have been very much like you, of like, no, I want to be able to make a living at something.
Yes.
So you should be really proud of decisions that you made that were, and music is always there for you, Meredith. It's going to be something that you do for the rest of your life.
Well, I can't even, I'm having an out-of-body experience right now. Like, I can't even tell you how grateful I am to hear that, like, from you. And I think it definitely now has really informed everything that I do in terms of my ability to talk about music, over music, to leave room for that drum fill and that song intro, because I know that's important. Like, I love talking to artists. Like, I love, when I interviewed you about your TV show, like, I was able to, I have so much, it's not like I did my research I did my research, but I knew my research,
Yeah. Oh my God, did you ever?
And so to be able to put that love and passion and also like deep respect. Like when I get artists in now, I'm like, man, like stuff has to line up for this to all work. And it works for you and them, and especially the bands that come in. I got a lot of reverence for that. So it certainly has made me, I think, a better broadcaster having that background. So for that,
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe not.
Experience is everything, and what you're able to bring. How many times have I been interviewed where people are ill-prepared, they really don't care? I just remember once this guy in the States somewhere, he said, "So Jann, tell me about the song Insatiable." Right. I'm like, well, it's insensitive, but yeah, I get what you mean. So
yeah, but let me really pour my heart out to you, Bob.
Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't really work that way.
Tell me about. I'm just going to switch gears a bit. Yeah. Tell me about single Meredith versus coupled Meredith, and who she is, who you were as a single woman, kind of making your way through the world, and now you are you're in a happy relationship with quite a famous chef. I'll let you people. Yeah. I'll let Meredith address who he is, and you guys both have Marilyn Dennis in common.
We do. I mean, she's kind of my somehow matchmaker, like unbeknownst. But
tell me a little bit about it. Had you given up on love, or just back us up a little bit and go?
I met his name is Rodney Bowers. He is an incredible chef.
Incredible
chef. And funny. Yeah. And
handsome.
Beautiful, like we said.
Yep.
Yeah, very beautiful. He'll love that. I don't think I'd given up on love, because I am a romantic, but I had a really bad Tinder experience, Jann Arden, coming off.
Okay, do tell. You can't say that and not say what it was.
It was just, he was another ginger, which, had never been a thing for me. I am redheaded. He was redheaded. I don't know if the fire just didn't compliment. But it was this kind of thing where he wasn't who he presented to be. And
Okay.
it took me too long to figure that out. And I was like, you know what? I'm too goddamn old for this. And I'm also, I want to meet someone face to face. Like it didn't feel like the app vibe was going to be my thing. And
Good.
so I just sort of like got off all of them and was very, independent woman living in my loft, loving my friends, drinking rosé. This was Meredith Shaw.
Sounds good to me.
Right? Not bad. And it's funny, Jann, I remember seeing Rod on TV. This was like years ago. And he stopped me in his track. I was stopped. I just was there was something about him that felt instantly familiar. But he was in another relationship, as was I actually at the time, which indicated to me that perhaps
This isn't a good thing.
This is over. But his relationship status changed. He does have 2 kids. And so there was a marriage that ended and we came around and actually met each other in person. And that day we met each other in person, we've never stopped meeting each other in person.
Was it.
Yeah,
That was it, right?
That was it. And it hasn't been a straight line, that's for sure. I mean, whenever you're dealing with blending families and I don't have a lot of examples of that. My parents actually just this weekend celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, I love that.
So I didn't have a lot of reference points. So of course I did my Meredith thing and, read a million books about how not to mess it up. And so far I think like 90% not messed up. 10% maybe could do better. I don't know, but we're getting there, and it feels very much like
You guys live together?
We do. Yeah, we bought a house and everything. Yeah, we're
So how soon after did that happen?
we took a while. It was a couple years, just because
Okay, good.
there was
so you had
kids
your
involved.
own places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had our own places, and we were dating. He was cooking for me, right? Doing all those things.
I mean, that's got to be so great to be in a relationship with a magnificent chef.
It is like Amy Schumer said it right. Like she's like, I didn't know that this is really who I should have been falling for, a chef, but it is very helpful. And I'm going to clap for that, because it's true. I don't grocery shop. I don't cook. I don't. If anything, I just I'm saying just things like, that's too salty. Like I like more salsa. Like
Bring it to me in bed, damn it.
Yeah.
What is
everyone who liked me before that on this podcast now instantly thinks I'm way too bougie for my boots.
We can tell statistically that a lot of people just tuned out.
Yeah, they did, right?
We have a
Do you
red
have that?
meter that moves.
Well, Caitlin knows what's trending at all times, so I think
She really does. What is things that really inspire you? Like how do you get through your days? Like what keeps you motivated and interested in life? Like I go between really loving people and really disliking people.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
But what motivates you? Like what gets you out the door and excited about living your life every day? I mean, it's just not Rod. And you strike me as the type of person like, I have to be happy before I go into a relationship. Rod had to be happy before he came into his relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't make each other happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's totally true. And I think that's kind of one of the beautiful things about getting into a relationship a little bit older. Like you kind of have that idea. And if you don't, like, you should. Because it's just, you're going to waste each other's time, basically. I think, honestly, other women, like I'm so into the conversations that I have, mostly in real life, but also I got to say online. My Instagram is a very happy place, which is nice. Trolls, please stay away.
You've curated a great space there.
But it's
a positive space.
Thank you. And the sort of messages I get from women who, weren't going to do something and then tried it. That whole thing, that idea of being on the precipice of change and me having some role in them going for it. I mean, it knocks my socks off every time, and I get super stoked. And I just want to do it sort of more and more and be more involved in things that instigate and ignite passion in people's lives. That's really interesting to me, and that might sound nerdy, but I'm so into that.
No, it's not. I love the mentorship part of your mission statement. I love the fact that you take the time to mentor people, whether it's people that are older than you or younger women, and shine that light in a direction where, listen, this is what I did. This is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. I think that is one of your most lovely attributes. I just admire you greatly for that, Meredith.
Well,
I think to
I can't
give
thank
of
you
oneself.
enough. That is beautiful.
But I mean, and God only knows what's next for you. I mean, you look at the trajectory of your life. Do you see yourself getting married? Do you guys think that that's important to you? I know I'm prying now, but
will you sing at it? No, I'm kidding.
yes, of course. If you get married, I'll sing at your wedding.
No. Okay, Rod proposed now, just so Jann can sing. I mean, I love the man, and I think marriage is beautiful. I never thought I would think about am I or am I not going to have kids, or am I not going to get married. Those are choices I didn't think I was going to make actively, because I just thought things would like dot along. And at first I was a little ticked off that they weren't dotting along. And now I think it's so cool because you get to actively make decisions. And I think that's super fun. And I think people should be less afraid of that too, because it's a time. Let me tell you, it's a time.
Okay. Well, listen, it is time right now. We're going to play a clip of your song.
Oh my gosh.
And what is the title of this song, Meredith?
I think we're going to go with "Call It a Night." I think we'll do that one. That's
with Joel Plaskett.
Joel Plaskett, yeah, out of his studio in Dartmouth.
Yeah, this is the first time that the Jann Arden podcast has ever played a snippet of music. So, with any further ado, we're going to get to that. Meredith Shaw, thank you so much for being on the planet, being you, being a positive force, being filled with love, and I can't wait to see you in the building, give you a hug. And let's listen to Meredith.
Thank you, Jann Arden. Thank you so much, Jann Arden. We love you. And I'm saying we because I'm speaking on literally behalf of Canada and the world. And I would be remiss if I'm taking risks, and I'm not taking a risk right now. If you ever need a backup singer, I'm
Meredith,
here for you. I'm here for you.
No, we're going to do it. We're going to sing together, and I'm going to drag you up on stage. You know, I have a show coming up in Toronto, and one of those nights, you're going to freaking get up there and sing with me.
Oh, my gosh.
You've got it now, girl.
See, podcast listeners, you got to take a risk, even in the moment.
You got to do it. You got to be in the moment.
Love you, Jann
Arden. Everybody,
Arden.
thanks for being with us today. Toodly-doo. And stay tuned. We're going to here comes Meredith singing to you right now.
I'm not afraid to get dirt on my dress. Love isn't worth it unless it's a mess. I could be wrong, but I could really care less. You're knocking me out. Yes. Come on, baby. Can't you feel me looking? Don't you give a damn? Come on, darling. I won't wait forever just because I can. Oh my. I'm about to let you do what you like. I said, oh my. Call me up to let me down. I'll call your name. We'll call it a night.